when you decide that you're going to make an effort to turn the phones off, find something very specific to do in its place. Don't
Mm.
just expect that to come to you, or for people to sit in the quiet just staring at each other very awkwardly. Have a specific activity or conversation that maybe the family needs to have, or that it would just be fun to have. Don't just do it and expect things to take care of themselves, because they won't.
Welcome to an episode of What to Say and How to Say It. Today, we're going to be talking about you, your spouse, and your phone. Because whether you realize it or not, that particular device could be having a really negative impact on your marriage. And if it is, you want to know about it and you want to do something about it. The odds are really high that it's having a negative impact on you and you don't even know it. So we're going to be talking today with Kyle Hargrove, our favorite licensed professional counselor, as we explore this issue of ourselves and our relationship with our phone and how it impacts the other people in our lives. Kyle, you've run into this being a reality for a lot of couples out there.
Yes, I have. And I think the first thing we have to realize about this, Nina, is that what we used to have in our pockets and in our hands were phones that could send us a text message and perhaps allow us to know that we had a new email. Now what we have in our hands are tiny little computers that also have a telephone feature. And I think the irony in talking about this and calling them phones is talking on the phone is probably what we do the least.
Wow. Yeah.
Hello? Hello?
I know, right? I need a minute. Yeah. No, that's legit. As I'm ordering my groceries and I'm talking to customers and I'm doing work inside our live classroom, I'm working on my phone. I'm sitting here holding this device that kind of the jury's kind of out on, and not so much in other spaces, is whether it's actually harming me physically.
Yeah.
But and no wonder I'm going blind. My eyes are like trying to read that. There is no bigger text, by the way, for my phone. I'm maxed out on the size of text.
Yeah.
But this is a thing that comes between people because we're plugged in online way too many hours out of the day now.
We went down to the river down in South Texas about a week ago to just have some chill time, just to relax. We weren't there long, but if you can give yourself 24, 36 hours to just unplug, it has a remarkable impact and effect on your attitude and your relationship. And we agreed not to take our phones with us when we left the condo to go to the river. As a matter of fact, the first day we got there early afternoon and had lunch, and then went down to the river and just sat in the lawn chairs and watched other people floating the river. And I don't think we were prepared to see how many people are in inner tubes floating down the river, listening to music, enjoying themselves on their phones.
Wow.
In the water. I mean, of course, they have the pouches now that you can put them in, but more than half the people that we saw floating down the river, on a day, a beautiful, beautiful day at the end of the summer, there were hundreds, if not thousands of people in the river, and more than half of them easily were on their phones. Now,
wow.
They might have been texting somebody on the other side of their group, 12 feet away. I don't know. It's not like I've ever texted somebody from inside my own house. No. we don't even have a 2-story house, and still sometimes, it's like we'll be texting each other. But it was just, that this is chill time. This is restoration time. And this is time to get away from the things that bring us stress every day. And don't kid yourself. As beneficial and helpful sometimes as that smartphone can be, it is equally, if not more so, stressful for you.
Well, and the data is in on how damaging these things are to your brain.
Yeah.
And I'm not talking about, the cellular damage, because that's a thing. I'm talking about attention span and memory.
Yeah.
So if you're spending more than 15 minutes to 30 minutes a day on your phone doing a scrolling activity like Facebook or Twitter, the big social media platforms, if you're spending that much time, you're actually shortening your ability to concentrate. And it is creating a lack of focus. And people have what I refer to as short attention span theater going on. Like, life is just not that interesting. Well, let me check my phone. And then you cause this cycle. And then it takes you 7 minutes to refocus and get back to where you were and the thing that you were looking at. And the problem is that there's this thing called flow, which is this exceptionally deep level of concentration where creativity lives and productivity is amazing. And we never get into that cycle if we distract ourselves with our cell phone. We interrupt our own productivity with our cell phone. And then on top of that, you have the relationship element.
Yeah.
How many couples are you dealing with where their stupid phone is like a jilted lover, like, or not even jilted, it's just one that's there in the room wanting attention.
Oh, this has been going on for a decade now.
Mm-hmm.
I believe last year, or I don't know if it was last year or the year before, was the 10-year anniversary of the smartphone. And, to think that our culture and our society has embraced this thing so tightly that it has the impact on our lives that it does in less than a day. Or, it was just a couple of years after smartphones came out that they began to be problems.
Mm-hmm.
We talked about the families, that had a basket in the middle of the table. And when it's time to come sit down for dinner, everybody turned their phone off and put it in the basket and so forth. And unfortunately, those families were few and far between.
Mm-hmm.
There are other families that would go out to eat at a restaurant and, stack their phones in the middle of the table, and whoever grabbed their phone first had to pay for dinner, So, yeah, so that's a real lesson for a teenager who's a little cash poor.
Yeah.
But, if you have to pay for dinner and that's all you had, then you might think twice about that the next time.
Well, and a lot of, like, in the last week, I've had two clients that were really frustrated with, in their marriage situation, their spouse is on their phone all the time. And, they were like, well, what do I do with that? Sit around and wait for them to come back? And I'm like, why would you do that? Why would you sit around and wait? Two things: get a life. Number one, get a life. Number two, ask for what you want. And if your spouse has their phone, one of the things that I've done with all my kids, like, it's just part of the Rosner culture. They know that if you're going to be around me and you're going to have to try to have a conversation with me, we're not also having a cell phone present. I will sit and I will wait for them to put their phone away. And they're like, oh, I'm paying attention. And I say things like, hey, I'm sure you are, and I love you. I don't feel paid attention to when you've got this device in between us and you're doing that and doing me. So if you want to talk to me, I would love that. If this is a terrible time for you, then okay, let me know when you're done with your social media and we'll have that conversation. And they feel awkward and they're like, well, I'll put it away. And they put it away. You do that enough times, they stop bringing it into the conversation.
Yeah.
And I want people with me. So I'll put my hand on their shoulder and be like, hey, can you be with me right now instead of that? I ask. And I'm that obnoxious person because it doesn't do any good. It's damaging.
Exactly. And it's as if we have redefined the definition of disrespect,
Mm-hmm.
because suddenly to be on your phone while you're in the middle of a conversation is not considered disrespectful by so many people. It's considered normal.
Right.
And I'm sorry, it's just not. I do almost all the therapy I'm doing currently is virtual therapy online, which means the people that I'm working with can see me and I can see them. I can also see the reflection of their computer screen in their eyes.
Mhm.
And in the middle of therapy, I suddenly see their focus on the camera kind of just leave a little bit, just a bit, and then it goes from blue to bright white, and then to say it's like okay,
It's on Amazon.
I can see that you're no longer looking at me, and I'm not offended by that. I mean, this is not the greatest thing to look at, but what concerns me is that we can't focus that long
Yeah.
without feeling like, I have to check my email, or I can see that someone texted me. And that's really a bad thing for me. I use Apple products. And so if someone texts me on my phone, we also have this thing called iMessage on the Apple computers. And so we can text back and forth from our desktop. And that's bad for me, because I'm probably more prone to be watching for texts than I am for emails or Facebook or anything like that. Although I do have my guilty pleasures. Plus, I mean, you can't get to Facebook Marketplace without going through Facebook first. Okay. So, and Marketplace, that's about making a good deal. So it's legitimate time being spent, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's different than looking at the classified ads. The problem is that you're navigating through this space that's been created to cause you to be a dopamine addict.
Right.
And so, yeah, oh my goodness, it's been engineered with intention. I mean, the documentaries are out there. It is by design very dangerous. That's one of the reasons we moved our platform for our course, Strength and Dignity for Women, off of Facebook. We used to host it there. And one of the first sessions, I'm telling people to stay off social media, but that's where we can only
All right now.
I felt like a big old hypocrite, but now we can afford something more. So we're in a separate space that doesn't have any ads.
Yeah.
It doesn't have any, things to lure you into more time on this platform. It's our content, and I love that so much. But
Well, one of the things that is, call it what you want, a reason or an excuse, to be on the social media platforms for a lot of people is similar to one that we experience. Danny and I together own 4 small businesses.
yep.
And none of these are businesses where it's practical for us to go buy ad space in a newspaper or magazine, because it's so cheap to advertise via social media,
Right.
or even free.
Mm-hmm.
Therefore, we're, and I'm not the social media manager of any of these. I confess I don't have that skill set, but there can be hours a day put into just the business aspect of this. And it's literally impossible, not completely, but literally impossible to do that and not get sucked into the other parts of the social media, the social part of the social media as well, or the cute bunny pictures, or the dogs, or the horses, or things along those lines. Sorry, had to say that. We're a horse family too, so but you're correct. These have been engineered to do exactly what they do to us, and that's to suck us into a dark black hole that it's difficult to get out of. And there are so many ways that we could be using this that wouldn't be that much of a deal, but the ways that we do use it are harmful. One of those is, a screen, your telephone screen or your iPad or whatever it might be, being the last thing that you see at night before you close your eyes to go to sleep.
Mm-hmm.
It's not the screen necessarily so much as it's what's on it.
Right.
I'm a news junkie. So the likelihood is, if I'm laying in the bed looking at a screen, I'm probably looking at a news site somewhere to see what's going on, or what I can expect tomorrow. I also am a weather nerd, and so I'm always but these things, they're swirling around in our brain when our brain needs to be shut down.
Yeah.
And if you have kept up with this data, the amount of of the synapses firing in the brain when we write with a pen or a pencil on paper
Mhm.
are about 10 times the number of synapses that fire when we get on a keyboard and type.
Wow, that's cool.
Okay. Why would it not be the same if we're doing this or if we're having a verbal conversation with somebody?
Mhm. Yeah.
Don't you think that's going to engage your brain more to be listening and talking, listening and talking, listening and talking instead of doing this and scrolling and you know? So I don't know that I don't know if I'm sure there's data on that somewhere.
Well,
I haven't seen that.
probably one of the most disturbing pieces of data around technology is its impact on levels of anxiety and loneliness. Mental illness is shot through the roof, which is great for businesses like what you do and, coaching and all of that. It's a sad thing. But people need more help with that because they are more anxious, they are more depressed. It doesn't do anybody any good to have 24/7 access to the gloom and doom in the world. It increases anxiety. And then the falsehood of relationships. When people that are teenagers that are socially challenged really believe these people are friends of theirs that they've never met,
Yes.
never actually interacted with. And when I was teaching college, it was shocking to me how many people were like, well, this is my best friend and he lives in Arkansas. Oh, how often do you see him? Well, I've never met him. Like, what? No,
Yeah.
no, that is not, no. You've got to have skin on, oxytocin, touch, hugs, that makes a friend. You have to have an hour and a half of physical presence twice a month for it to be an actual friendship that counts. Like, stop that. That's not a real relationship. Like watching, a TV series and thinking those people know and care about you. They don't. You don't know each other like you think you do. Even if you're talking about deep stuff, you don't know each other like you think you do, because most of the message, the actual physical presence, the way the person's heart physiologically reacts to the other person's heart, the electromagnetic waves that are being sent, the oxytocin release, none of that's there. How do I really feel? Sorry, getting on a soapbox.
Yeah. Well, so much of communication, no matter who we are, what we do, is based on the ability to read the body language of other people.
Mhm.
Well, when we're online, we don't do that. Even you and I sitting here, looking from just below the neck up, are only seeing a part
Yep.
of what's going on and what's being communicated. That's probably the one thing that I don't like about doing the virtual therapy more than anything else. It's not the only thing, but is that I lose a large percentage of my ability to read body language,
Mhm.
and that it makes it a little bit more difficult. It's not just in the face and the eyes; they're all different kinds of things people do. When they're feeling stressed or anxiety, or if they're angry.
Mhm.
Um, and so we learn that whether we realize it or not. It kind of sneaks up on us probably by the time we're adults, just out of the teenage years. We already are virtual experts at reading people's body language, and we don't even know we're doing it.
Yeah. And so much of that is getting missed when we're having relationship online versus having it in real flesh touch, experiences with people.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, when you look at intimate relationships, um, it's kind of like looking at the picture of a sandwich versus actually eating a sandwich. There's a huge difference there. Now,
One
I've
definitely does lead to the other.
there's such a beautiful opportunity to have a deep connection with a real live human being. Um, and people are meeting each other online and then getting married. It's like, what? Like, one of my friends has a kid that is dating someone. They've never actually been in the same physical proximity, and they call it dating, and they think they're going to get married.
Mhm.
You and I both know that that's going to be a train wreck of reality hitting reality when they actually are together. They won't know what to do.
Yeah. Well, and I really want to encourage people, anybody that might be listening or maybe even watching, what we're doing here. That when you look at what's going on in your relationship, when you look at what's your social organizations, and do you feel lonely when you're in a crowd of people? Do you feel isolated even in spite of the fact that you're around people a lot? I would really want to encourage people to say, make this one of the first places you look. Make this one of the first. It's easy. Okay. It doesn't require help. It doesn't require, any money, but just to contemplate the possibility of cutting back, of putting the devices down, make set aside no device time at home at night and on the weekends and so forth, because I don't really know anybody um, that doesn't spend too much time on their smartphones if they have them. And I say all the time, I wish I just had a flip phone. I wish I just had a flip phone. And I'm certain if I got that little flip phone that I could just slide in my pocket and hardly even know it's there, because I like you, I have the giantest screen, that my brand makes. And I want a smaller one, but I can't see it. So, so I have to carry the big, and it's heavy. So, and if I don't wear a belt, it pulls my shorts down, makes me, I'm sagging. But, you don't have to even think about that. You can't unsee that now. But, it's just too much of a temptation, I'll say, for myself at times. As much as I would like not to be tied to it as much as I am, or as often as I am, um, I let it be a presence in my life that's more than it should be. So I don't like the idea that I know there's something I can do to make it better, yet I don't always do it.
Well, one of the things I've found really helpful, which is only helpful for me, it drives everyone in my family nuts and my friends as well. I don't use my notifications except for the ringer. So, and it's mainly because I don't want to learn how to set all of them to be special. So, and this is going to sound so, I didn't used to be like this. I actually cared about what my ringtones were, and I ever had friends that had different ringtones than my family, and I did all that kind of stuff. So I know how important this phone call was based on where you were in my, circle of people. And I've left it with the the moto, the sound that it came from the manufacturer. Everybody it's like they're offended when my phone rings. It's like, oh, I can't believe you haven't changed that yet. I'm like, what? No, the less fun this is for me. And so everybody knows I'm a slow texter. If the barn is on fire, call me. Otherwise, I'm not going to get to it. I'm just not. And I lose my phone all the time, like almost by design. I let it run out of charge. It's just because I don't want the stupid thing to own me. And I believe the studies that are starting to say that the stupid things give you bad diseases like cancer because they damage your cells. We're not meant to be exposed to that much
Well,
electricity,
yeah. And I think COVID brought it to light of how nasty our phone screens really are, and how many germs and bacteria that they carry. And I don't even talk on my phone like this anymore. I push the speaker,
yeah.
and put it somewhere. I don't want that on my face.
Yeah, I don't know where it's been, even though I know where I've been. It's like, I don't know, I wash my hands, but like, I don't know where that's been. I don't
Yeah,
want to know.
I wash my hands, but then I touch that stair rail, or
Yes.
the table at the restaurant where I had lunch, and then I touch my phone, and therefore what's on that table is now on my phone.
Well, and the last thing you're ever going to see me do is give my phone to my granddaughter to shut her up. Like, no way. I'm not going to do that. And it's really interesting. My oldest son has this 1.5-year-old, and they're pregnant again. Yay. And
Congratulations.
yeah, so he's 26, right? So that's not that long ago. So it's a decade, right? When we
Yeah.
were fighting, when we fought for 5 years or 4 years or whatever it was, till he moved out, on the amount of social media and the amount of phone time and all the stuff, right? He's decided that his children are not going to have Instagram or any social media. Like, she's 1.5, right? Like, this is not an issue for a decade, probably, maybe, I hope. I hope, right? But he's making decisions now because he sees things differently. And I don't know anybody who hasn't been negatively impacted by this. And whatever you pay attention to, whatever you're exposed to, and this is the thing that parents don't know, is they think, oh, well, we're monitoring their social media. They set up private, secret profiles. You think your kid would never do that? Oh, they will. And
Oh,
then
and then you.
they're seeing stuff about self-harm, transgender. They're seeing all sorts of stuff that their young brains cannot handle without adult help, and you're not there to help them because you don't know it exists. And if you think that's not true and it wouldn't happen to your kid, then okay, I'll join you in that because that was me, and it did. And I believed my kids, and then I found out later, right? But you won't have that benefit. So
Yeah.
free advice may be with what you paid for it today, which is nothing, but it's worth the battle to keep them off of social media. Worth it. Let them be ostracized by their friends. Be the one that doesn't buy them an iPhone.
And to set the example by not being on ours all the time.
There you go. Yep. Yeah. Do fun things as a family with their friends. Make it happen. Worth it. So, you think we've been on a soapbox enough today?
I like to feel tall every now and then.
What's one last piece of advice that you would give our listeners today, Kyle, on this really important topic?
When you decide that you're going to make an effort to turn the phones off, find something very specific to do in its place. Don't just expect that to come to you, or for people to sit in the quiet just staring at each other very awkwardly. Have a specific activity or conversation that maybe the family needs to have, or that it would just be fun to have. Don't just do it and expect things to take care of themselves, because they won't.
Yeah, that's good advice. Replace it with something more fun, with better. Absolutely. Well, great advice. Thank you so much for that. And if you guys want more information about how to deepen your relationships, maybe stop walking on eggshells, you can hop over to our website at greaterimpact.org and download our free little ebook PDF kind of thing, and learn about that. And be sure to stick around and listen to the next episode, because we're here to help you learn what to say and how to say it, so you can navigate the sticky communication situations in your life.